Hello readers, I'm Jessie Quinn from Cup of Books, and this is a video about what I've been reading for the past 2 months. Yes, this is a new mug. Also, this is a brand new filming space. Also, I've been gone for 2 months without any explanation. I sort of took an unplanned hiatus for 2 months. This was partly due to life changes happening, which includes moving into a new place, and partly due to laziness. I can admit my flaws. October is a mere few days away, and if you all remember from last year, October is kind of a thing on my channel. Like a big thing. So this next month you can expect a lot of things happening on my channel, but before we get to October, I wanted to at least make one regular booktube video instead of just jumping right into the costumes and the makeup and the skulls. Okay, now some of you may remember that I was participating in the Lord of the Rings read-along this summer, and for me it was a reread. So you may be wondering how I did. My bookmark is still in Two Towers. I'm still stuck in the part where the book switches back to Sam and Frodo's adventures walking. I should probably mention that I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings trilogy and they're my favorite books and all of that. I just, there's specific things about the trilogy I'm not super jazzed about, like the, Sam and Frodo bit in the Dead Marshes and the fact that there's really no women who matter. Also, part of my decision to put the Two Towers down was the fact that I ended up taking a little bit of a road trip at the end of July, beginning of August, so I bought some audiobooks that I could listen to on the way. The first audiobook I listened to on my little road trip was Boyfriends with Girlfriends by Alex Sanchez. Now, if you don't know who Alex Sanchez is, he's a writer who's really well known for incorporating gay characters into young adults fiction. I was really excited to read Boyfriends with Girlfriends because it actually focuses on bisexual teens. I had some issues with this one. The first issue being that I felt like the Japanese American character Kimiko was tokenized a lot in the way she was talked about and the way her family was talked about. Her mom gets described as a dragon lady at one point. Yeah. And then there was also sort of the issue I had with the way bisexuality was portrayed at times, particularly with the one character who is a bisexual boy, because he is very sexually experienced, has been sexually experienced from a very, very young age, always hooking up with people, and then the relationship that he's sort of entering into in this book or sort of interested in, he can't commit to. Those are not bad things. They're not bad things, but they definitely play into a lot of stereotypes. I think this was also an issue with the fact that the boy he liked, and who liked him back, who was gay, was a virgin. Sort of this weird dichotomy of, the gay character being super inexperienced and thus really, really pure, and the bisexual character is being super experienced and kind of promiscuous. I gave it 2 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. However, despite my sort of low rating of this book, it wasn't all bad. I think a lot of the conversations that were had around bisexuality were very realistic and rang really true. Then I ended up listening to Lokis Wolves, which is the first book in the Blackwell Pages series. It's a middle grade series about kids who are descended from the Norse gods. This was enjoyable, but I really had trouble buying the storyline. Didn't really believe that these kids would be so accepting of the idea that Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse essentially, was gonna happen. I realized they're kids because this is a middle grade book, so they're pretty young, but even so. I also was really disappointed that some of the boy characters were incredibly condescending to this girl at times, and it didn't get called out like I think it should have been. I did kind of enjoy figuring out who was descendant of who. For the most part, it's really on the nose, but I understand that it's aimed at a much younger reading group. The physical editions of this book, at least the editions in the US, have illustrations. and I think I would have really enjoyed it with illustrations. I give this one 3 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads account. I wouldn't necessarily highly recommend this, but I think if you are interested, there's, you know, it's enjoyable. I thought it was enjoyable enough. And I borrowed Akata Witch from the library and I read that, the physical book, not an audiobook. Akata Witch is about a girl, Sunny, who discovers that she has magical powers, and so she discovers that there's this whole secret society of jaguar people who can do magic, and that she is one of them. It also takes place in Nigeria. Sunny is a Nigerian black girl who's also albino, who spent the first years of her life in America. What a unique main character Sunny is. I just thought that was so great. It starts off with some dark undertones, but there's, especially towards the end, some serious dark stuff going on. Well, as dark as, you know, younger YA can get. The plot really doesn't seriously kick in until towards the end. It's hinted at and it's sort of there, but it feels more like a subplot, and for me that didn't quite work. But, you know, it was really enjoyable with all the world building and sort of learning about Sunny's new friends and this new secret society. In general, I would recommend this one. I would recommend this one especially if you sort of like magical girl stories or stories about kids discovering they can do magic. I gave Akata Witch 3 stars out of 5. Then I went on to read The Gospel of Loki by Joanne M. Harris. This is the same author who wrote Chocolat, which is actually the reason I picked up this book. This book is pretty much a straight up retelling of the myths, except that they are told from Loki, the trickster god's perspective. And I do want to clarify that this is, you know, Norse mythology Loki and not Marvel Tom Hiddleston Loki, because I hope everyone knows that those are different. Despite having such a promising start and some really, really hilarious lines, in general was kind of dry and really weighted down by the myths. Sort of get told, oh yeah, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and that's how this story wraps up, yada yada yada. I would have liked to actually, you know, see that. There's the whole showing not telling thing, and that wasn't really adhered to in this one. Unfortunately, even though it had some really funny one-liners, in this the humor wasn't consistent enough for me to rate this above 2 stars, so I gave it 2 out of 5. Currently, I am reading The Lowland by Jhumpa Lahiri. I'm not very far in. I'm also reading this with Alan Janae. I believe Alan is also reading it. I'm certainly not gonna finish it by the end of September, but fortunately I've more or less read everything I'm planning on reviewing in October, so I will just be able to continue reading this. I am also currently listening to the audiobook of the first Skullduggery Pleasant book by Landey. I'm usually not a person who reads 2 different books at once. However, the reason I started the Skullduggery Pleasant book, even though I've been also working on The Lowland by Jhumpa Lahiri, is simply because I had to drive quite a ways earlier this week, so I wanted to actually use the time productively. So I got an audiobook. Well, I already had it. That was the other thing. I already had it, so I might as well try listening to it. But I realized that there are like 5 bajillion books I've read this year, which is to say there's probably about 15 books I have read this year that I haven't reviewed yet. I am going to be doing that eventually. Some of those books are from January and February, which is a little embarrassing. Speaking of subscribers, there are thousands of you now. And by thousands, I mean like 8,000 of you now. I thought I was doing good when I had 20 subscribers. I'm glad you all are here, and I hope you all enjoy my Halloween videos, because they are coming up whether you like it or not. Bye!